přijela do kongresu jako voda.
Svítí.
Až se to stát už.
Co?
Může se to už stát.
Může.
Mám začít?
Asi klidně začnu.
Dearest delegates, fellow Secretariat members, honorable chairs, and distinguished guests. The opening ceremony of the PORGMUN 2026 conference is about to begin. The ceremony itself will be held continuously without breaks. You can have your refreshments and take your break after the opening ceremony before the icebreakers begin. During the course of the opening ceremony, the opening video will be presented, as well as the speeches from our Secretariat members, alongside the Honorable Headmaster of Nový Porg, Mr. Karel Lemfeld, followed by a representative of our amazing conference venue, Newton University, which will be followed by the speech of the PORGMUN supervisor, Zach Barnes, as well as the representatives of our conference partner, UNICEF Czech Republic. Then we will continue with the keynote speech by Mr. Jakub Landowski, and lastly, we will entertain a speech from one of our general partner, Porto's representatives, Mr. Petr Gajdušek. We will adjourn the opening ceremony at approximately 3:30 p.m. We would like to thank all the sponsors of PORGMUN, without whom this conference would not be possible. Chief amongst them is the Newton University, which continuously supports PORGMUN and whose grounds we may use as the principal venue for our conference. We will now begin with an introductory video from the Secretary General of the United Nations.
Dear friends, our world is in flux, power is shifting, divisions are deepening, and our future is clouded by climate chaos and runaway technologies. But together we can turn crisis into opportunity. By taking part in a model United Nations simulation, you are learning what it takes to build a better world. It takes stamina, a command of the facts, and the courage to see other perspectives, always putting the needs of the most vulnerable first. Across the globe, young people like you are driving change through advocacy, organizing, and public service. Your energy and determination inspire me. Keep using your talents for good. At United Nations, we are committed to opening more doors for young people to shape the decisions that affect their lives. Yes, these are challenging times, but challenging times forge great leaders. I know some of those leaders are in this room today. Thank you for believing in the power of global cooperation. Together, we can build a world of dignity, justice, and peace for all.
Now that the House has come to order, we would like to give the floor to András Drahocký, our Secretariat member, to give an introductory speech on the conference topic and the conference as a whole.
Good afternoon and welcome to PORGMUN 2026. It's a profound privilege to stand before you today and see just how many people believe in what diplomacy can deliver. Looking out at the room, I see so many young leaders who came here to debate, compete, and win in their respective committees. I see those who came from abroad to meet new people and travel. And let's be honest, I probably see a few of you who mostly came for the free food. In any case, this year's conference will not disappoint. But no matter what motivated you to come here, whether you're prepared or at least have the impressive ability to look like you are, what matters is that you came. That shows that you care about the shape of the world that we live in. Before we get to what you can expect from the next few days, I'd like to begin with a few thank yous. We should look back to the people who enabled us to be here in the first place. To begin with, I'd like to thank, in the name of the PORGMUN organization team, our supervisors. Firstly, Mr. Barnes, who is our fearless and sometimes ruthless leader, who enables this conference to be a reality every single year. Mr. Morel, who despite joining us just this year, has contributed greatly to the content and spirit of the conference. And finally, Mr. Matthews, who despite not being a part of the organization team anymore, remains one of the founding fathers of this event. As we look forward to the sessions ahead, the 13 years of PORGMUN are testament to a very simple yet powerful idea, that no global issue is too large to be dismantled by dialogue, and that every perspective in this room is a necessary piece of that puzzle. Other people who have contributed to this conference are in no less part than the supervisors. The PORG chairman, Martin Roman, for creating the school in a conducive and supportive environment of our organizing efforts. And finally, the parents, both of the delegates and the organization team, for putting up with us and allowing us to be here and empowering us. We carry this flame of debate in the most significant spaces in Prague, starting here in the Municipal House. It was here that in 1989, the first negotiations of the Velvet Revolution took place, a testament to democracy and what dialogue can achieve. This same spirit of negotiation will follow us into the Prague Castle's Martinec Palace, where we'll celebrate our debate progress, and finally to Prague City Hall, where we'll say our goodbyes. These venues are reminders that the things said in these rooms matter. They have consequences, and they bring us to the central conference theme, establishing a comprehensive understanding of power. In its most basic form, we usually define power as the capacity to influence the world around us. It is the ability to have a choice and make it matter. It is the strength to change a situation, affect the lives of others, or change the world that we see. What's the issue? Well, often we are taught to look at power from the ways that are most visible. We look at the strength of a voice, the scale of a budget, or the weight of an authority. However, it's not necessarily just this that contributes to it. In this way, power can be a tool for progress. However, the very qualities that make power a potential force for good also make it incredibly dangerous when it is unconstrained and not regulated sufficiently. It can become a profound source of instability. When authority expands without a clear boundary, it can become disconnected from the original purpose it was meant to serve, and this kind of unchecked power does not just threaten a nation's rivals, but it threatens its integrity. I want to tell you 3 stories from the past where this was the case. If we want to build strong and resilient democracies that are stable enough to last, we have to look at the other side of the equation as well. And a comprehensive understanding of power means recognizing that a nation is best off when its leaders recognize that they have to exercise self-restraint, and progress requires sacrifice. In 1796 in the United States, George Washington was president with near unlimited executive authority in a nation that was still largely experimental. Because it had only recently broken from the British monarchy, there was no model for a peaceful transition of power. With no legal term limits in place, the default expectation was that he would simply serve until his death. Washington broke this, however, by deciding not to run for a 3rd term, recognizing that the United States needed to function independently from any one person. In his farewell address, he warned of a real despotism and a spirit of encroachment that could come from leaders who seek to abuse the power lent to them. By retiring, he ensured that a transfer of power could become a cornerstone of democracy and would be repeatable. The progress of democracy required sacrifice. The second story takes us to the 70s in China, which just emerged from one-man rule under Mao. It was very volatile. The new preeminent leader, Deng Xiaoping, held the political leverage to maintain the totalitarian model for life. But by prioritizing the survival of the state over his own authority, Deng recognized that the country needed a sustainable and stable authority. He began the deliberate diffusal of his own power by creating a professional bureaucracy, introducing term limits, and abolishing lifelong tenure for officers. These decisions were necessary in the economic expansion of making China competitive in the global markets. Economic progress required sacrifice. Finally, by 1951, Western Europe was exhausted by a cycle of wars that plagued the continent. The pursuit of national power in the form of having the dominant military and industrial might had become a recipe for mutual destruction. The solution was a radical act of restraint, The European coal and steel community, 6 members, led by Germany, Western Germany and France, who were former enemies, made the intentional choice to surrender the resources needed to fight wars. By not controlling the supply chain to the creation of weaponry and the Schuman Declaration, the countries sacrificed a large portion of their industrial autonomy in exchange for peace for a community. Peace requires sacrifice. These stories are not just relics of the past. We see their consequences every single day. Unchecked and undefined power defines most of our modern world. In the past few years, the free world has faced a convergence of escalating crises. The rules-based international order is struggling. We face mounting geopolitical and technological challenges, and our democratic community is internally fractured. We often think of progress as an accumulation, more growth, more power, and influence. But as the stories today have shown, the leaps that endure are often defined by what we are willing to let go. Whether it is a president setting a precedent, a reformer building a system, or a community of nations choosing a shared future together, the result is the same. The individual steps back so the objective can survive. In an era where authoritarians thrive on absolute control, our strength lies in our ability to commit to a higher set of values. Because in the end, the most enduring legacy isn't the title you held, but the world you left behind. Progress requires sacrifice. So delegates, your time is now. What will a world where you hold the power look like? Thank you.
Thank you, Andy, for your speech. We shall present the opening video of PORGMUN 26 conference, created by our wonderful colleagues of the video team.
Drill, baby, drill.
The UAE, Jordan, Bahrain, Kuwait, and Saudi Arabia.
Wait a minute. That's not a question. That's not a question. Those are facts.
Ukraine entering its 5th year of war.
North Korea's leader, Kim Jong-un.
And how is China's economy handling the turmoil in the global?
Booster ignition and liftoff. The crew of Artemis 2 now bound for the moon.
PORGMUN is a student-led organization that hosts Model United Nations conferences. It brings together students who are interested in discussing global challenges while developing skills in diplomacy, debate, and public speaking. Participating in PORGMUN offers a valuable opportunity to explore international relations and strengthen communication and critical thinking abilities.
Let's talk about venues. You might be wondering where everything is actually taking place. We're starting things off right here, in the heart of the city at the Municipal House. It's one of the most famous Art Nouveau buildings in Prague, located right next to the Pagoda Tower. You'd usually see the Czech National Symphonic Orchestra here, not high schoolers in suits, but the architecture makes for a pretty cool looking backdrop for the opening ceremony. For the actual debates, we're heading back to somewhere a little more familiar. This is Milan University. It's the home base for all of the debates for the next few days. It's in the Congress Center complex, just off the Vyšehrad metro station. You're going to be doing most of the actual work in here, lobbying, writing resolutions, and yes, also enjoying cookie breaks. Just don't forget to enjoy the view as well. Then, for the social event, we're heading up towards the Castle District to the Martinic Palace. It's a 16th century Renaissance building, so the atmosphere is completely different from the comedy rooms. It's tucked away in a quiet square near the Prague Castle entrance, so we've got the whole space for our gala evening. It's the perfect spot to relax, grab some food, and talk to people without worrying about the rules of procedure. And to wrap everything up, we'll be here at the new City Hall. Usually, it's just for the mayor and city officials, but they let us take over the main hall for the closing ceremony. It's becoming a bit of a tradition for us to finish here, and it's a nice way to close out the conference.
Welcome to PORGMUN. This year's theme, Establishing a Comprehensive Understanding of Power in International Relations, encourages us to reflect on what power truly represents in today's world. Is it defined by military capability, economic influence, diplomatic strength, or perhaps something more complex? Throughout this conference, we will question assumptions, exchange ideas, and examine how different forms of power shape decisions that influence our global future.
The African Union will review foreign investment in Africa, focusing on its role in sustainable development and economic stability, while also addressing the Sudan civil war, with an emphasis on humanitarian relief, securing ceasefires, and supporting long-term peace efforts.
Hey ChatGPT, what is the theme for ECOSOC this year?
In ECOSOC, delegates will assess AI's environmental impact and explore sustainable ways to balance immediate humanitarian needs, such as flood relief in West and Central Africa, with long-term environmental policy.
Thank you, ChatGPT.
With trade and economics increasingly shaping international stability, delegates within the World Trade Organization will have to debate the use of tariffs as instruments of political leverage. The Human Rights Council must address major human rights challenges, including global hunger and the growing threat to privacy from expanding digital technologies, while ensuring innovation respects individual rights.
Amid rising global tensions, DISEC will address concerns over Iran's nuclear program and the regulation of civil firearms, balancing sovereign rights and personal freedom with global security and public safety. In UN Women, delegates will discuss forced marriage, which still impacts millions of girls, and explore how AI may contribute to gender discrimination, focusing on ways to ensure technology supports equality rather than worsening existing inequalities. Meanwhile, the Crisis Committee examines the final years of the Soviet Union, where reform, repression, and political unrest converged, forcing delegates to determine whether the superpower collapse survives or transforms immediately.
When international law is violated, justice must follow. At the International Criminal Court, the case of Prosecutor versus Liang Chen will test the mechanisms of global accountability. The Security Council will address the Syrian civil war, focusing on ending the fighting, rebuilding institutions, providing humanitarian aid, and restoring stability, with decisions impacting regional and global security.
The Historical Security Council will examine the 1975 East Timor crisis, weighing moral responsibility against Cold War politics and reflecting on how past inaction fueled one of the century's deadliest conflicts.
Delegates in the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime will tackle organized crime infiltrating governments and the rise of dark web activities, like illegal weapons, malware, and stolen data, while developing international strategies to uphold the rule of law in both physical and digital spaces.
UNICEF delegates will examine social media's impact on children's mental health and the global challenge of birthright citizenship, who are working to secure children's right to identity, education, healthcare, and protection.
West of Santa Fe. We were 17, but he was sweet and it was true. Still I did what I had to do, 'cause I just knew. Summer Sunday nights, we'd sink into our seats right as they dimmed out all the lights. A technicolor world made out of music and sheen. It called me to be on that screen and live inside each scene.
Without a nickel to my name, hopped a bus, here I came. I could be brave or just insane, we'll have to see.
'Cause maybe in that sleepy town, he'll sit one day, the lights are down, he'll see my face and think how he used to know me.
Behind these hills, I'm reaching for the heights and chasing all the lights that shine. Lights that shine, they let you down. It's another day I'll get up off the ground. It's another day the morning rolls around, and it's another day of sun. I hear him every day.
So, what does PORGMUN mean to you?
We will come.
Words are power.
Love and kindness. Don't be sheep. Okay, so I would describe PORGMUN as like ale dobrý, jako I love it.
So, what's your favorite country to represent?
My favorite country? Probably Sweden.
Why Sweden?
I don't know, I think it's explanatory.
So, what's your favorite story from any PORGMUN?
So last year, me and Andras were supposed to sing at the social event of
Truly represents. Today, one more try. Znova.
For the social event, we're heading up towards the castle and talk to people without worrying about the rules and procedure. Towards the castle.
And strengthen communication and critical thinking abilities. Dobrý.
As economics increasing political leverage. Blah, 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 blah. Furthermore, meanwhile, the crisis committee, a já to vůbec nepřečtu.
So we have a special interview with my
Oh my god.
Who do you think is the best secretary?
Ooh, that's a hard question. I think it's definitely me, but I love everybody else, but I think I don't know, I think I do pretty much the most stuff, you know? But it's okay, I love everybody else, so it's fine.
Okay. Tak to řekne Adriása. Takhle.
Tak se nepletný nějak ani.
Doufám, že to natáčí.
Jo, natáčí, ano.
We would like to once again thank our wonderful video team for this mesmerizing video. Now our Secretariat member Ela Karakolevova will explain this year's committee topics. Fellow Secretariat member, the floor is yours.
Esteemed Secretariat, distinguished chairs, dear delegates, sponsors, and guests. 100 years ago, many thought of the future as a world full of innovation, progress, and prosperity. However, as we speak, there are approximately 120 conflicts unfolding around the world, some of which are in the headlines, while others continue without our knowledge. It feels overwhelming to just look at the news and feel as though the fragile fabric of peace is unraveling around us without being able to do anything about it. The civil war in Sudan has devastated the nation, triggering what many call the greatest displacement crisis in the world and claiming the lives of hundreds of thousands of people. Therefore, delegates of the African Union will discuss how to aid, resolve, and finally conclude this bloody conflict. Over 300 million people are facing acute hunger worldwide, and it will be up to the delegates of the Human Rights Council to ensure equal and widespread access to food. Members of the Economic and Social Council will address the detrimental impacts on the environment caused by the development of massive data centers all over the globe. Meanwhile, news outlets write about the potential consequences of the Iranian nuclear program, and DISEC delegates will be the ones to determine whether the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction will continue. In addition, responsibility will lie in the hands of the UN Women delegates to protect the 12 million underage girls who are forced into marriage annually. Cartels and organized crime groups have become deeply entangled with governmental structures, and the stability of several countries will hinge on the decisions made by the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime. All the while, children are being separated from their parents because of deportation, and the future of thousands of families will rest in the hands of UNICEF members. And still, this overview is just the tip of the iceberg. Delegates will debate many more crises, searching for solutions, ceasefires, and agreements. But despite the perceived chaos encompassing our world, we must remember that there is always hope. Every generation aspires to be different from the last, to do better, and to finally bring peace. Every delegate in this room has the opportunity to learn from the mistakes of the past and be an agent of change. Even though participation in this year's PORGMUN may not seem consequential, every experience you gain will be useful in the future. Security Council delegates will learn how to compromise when tackling the complex revitalization and re-establishment of security in Syria. Judges of the International Criminal Court will learn the value of justice when putting Liang Chen on trial. Members of the Historical Security Council will learn to be curious about lesser-known issues and make sure society doesn't repeat the same mistakes. The plethora of topics that will be discussed during this conference should serve as a reminder that even though our understanding of power in international relations remains imperfect, it can be amended through cooperation, collaboration, and determination. Modern leaders and presidents operate within shaky international frameworks that threaten to collapse unless we create a long-lasting foundation for widespread security. The Secretariat of this year's PORGMUN conference has worked tirelessly to include compelling and complex issues which may not always get the attention they deserve, and to ignite curiosity in each and every one of you. Whether you'll examine the collapse of the Soviet Union in the Crisis Committee, or the impact of tariffs as tools of political extortion in the World Trade Organization, everyone here will create groundworks for peace in the years to come, because the future isn't something we inherit, it's something we shape. Thank you, and I yield the floor back to the President of the General Assembly.
Thank you, Ella, for your wonderful speech. Now, the General Assembly shall hear the speech by Karel Lemfeld, the headmaster of the Nový Porg Gymnasium. We thank Mr. Lemfeld for his continuing support of the PORGMUN conference and gladly give him the floor.
Dear teachers, parents, guests, dear students, allow me to welcome you here on this year's MUN conference. For the very first time, we have the opportunity to hold the opening ceremony here in historic Municipal House. My colleagues, guest speakers, students will speak in more detail and more in depth about this year's main theme. For now, I have honor to introducing of individual delegations. This year, we welcome over 330 delegates from 9 countries, including the Czech Republic. Allow me first to welcome the delegation from Africa, specifically a group of students from Senegal, from Dakar. Where are you? It would be nice to quick applause to welcome delegation from Spain, students coming from Barcelona. From Switzerland. Three groups of students coming from Netherlands. Two groups from Turkey. I'm happy to welcome Pennington students from USA. Students from Germany. From Scotland, and if I'm not mistaken, 11 group of students from Czech Republic. I wish you friendly and warm interaction in committees and an overall rewarding and memorable experience in our beautiful city of Prague. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lemfeld, for your inspiring speech. Now we will proceed to the speech by our conference partner, Newton University, which has allowed us to organize PORGMUN 2026 in the heart of Prague. Mr. Matěj Steiner, you now have the floor.
Honorable Secretariat, esteemed guests, and most importantly, dear delegates. My name is Matěj Steiner, and I'm very proud to stand here today representing Newton University. Before we go any further, I want to take a moment to thank the organizing team, your Secretariat. Putting an event like this together takes months of hard work, many sleepless nights, and endless stress. The fact that we are all sitting here today is amazing. So please, let's give them the massive round of applause. Thank you. It is wonderful to see many of you here at PORGMUN. When I look around this hall, I'm truly impressed. You are here today to learn skills that are absolutely crucial for your future. In the real world, whether in business, management, or politics, the winner isn't not the one who shouts the loudest. The true winner is the person who can listen to others, who can understand different opinions, and who can find a solution that works for everyone. At Newton University, our main rule is learning by doing. We believe that you cannot learn everything just from reading books. Real skills come from practice, and that is exactly what you are doing this weekend. Over the next few days, you will step into the shoes of real diplomats. You will discuss complex global problems. You will try to reach agreements, and this is the best way to prepare for your future careers, whatever they may be. My biggest advice to you today is simple. Do not be afraid. Maybe this is your first conference and you feel nervous. That is completely normal. Just raise your hand, share your ideas, and respect each other. This is a safe place to learn and make mistakes. Make the most of this experience. Talk to people during the breaks, find new friends, and most importantly, enjoy the atmosphere. I wish you very successful debates, great compromises, and a fantastic conference. Thank you for your attention.
We thank Mr. Steiner for his speech. Now we shall entertain one more speech from our conference partner, Newton University. Dr. Katarina Meissnerová, you now have the floor.
I hope it fits. I hope you hear me. Dear organizers, delegates, teachers, and guests, let me welcome you, as many other speakers before me. My name is Katarina Meissnerová, and it's a great honor for me to stand here today as a representative, of course, our Newton University, and also in these beautiful premises of the municipal house. Eleanor Roosevelt once said that the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. I do believe that this is true, and when I look at you, I see those dreams in a real form, in the form of young people who are ready to change the world. This is not the first time I have had the opportunity or the privilege to speak to you. Last year I spoke here about the legal framework for artificial intelligence, about the challenges of the borderless world in cyberspace, and also about the thing that the law accompanies you every day on your every move in your life, even if you don't realize that. I really was deeply impressed by the intelligence and knowledge and talent of all the delegates I have met. The delegates discussed complex topics with deep knowledge, deep I would say, impact, which could every even expert envy to you, because they were impressed, they were focused. That's why I really didn't hesitate for a second when I got the chance to come back to you. Newton University has been a proud, very proud partner of this conference for several years. We are very, very pleased to provide our university facilities for your meetings, because we really do believe in the power of academic knowledge which can do a background and can be somehow inspired by deeper discussions. I have here a brief personal confession, and let me be completely honest with you. Of course, I'm primarily not an academic, I am a lawyer. Every day I do resolve disputes, negotiate. I'm used to argue a lot, of course, but the teaching is my true calling, true passion, and my love, I would say. My students interest me not only as my audience in a classroom, but first and foremost as people. And I have to confess, I do have for this feeling completely selfish reason. I do have kids, and I know that my students will be the ones who will rule the world in which my kids and my children will live. And that's why I do just care deeply about what that world will be like. And I'm a little bit more calm when I look at you because I do believe that the world is in the good hands, because if you are the leaders, you will be the leaders. That's good news. Last year, I also talked about how technology is evolving at a breakneck speed. Human nature still remains the same. From biblical stories to Greek mythology to modern times, look at the stories. People are still dealing with the same conflicts. They are still solving the same problems. They arguing about power, envy, desire, justice, love, whatever. The problems are still the same. But what's changing is the surrounding technological support. Really, it is important who will lead the world, who will decide on the use of artificial intelligence, who will set the ethical boundaries in cyberspace, who will defend human rights in the digital age. The answer is here in this room. You develop skills here in the PORGMUN conference that are really essential in today's world. Diplomatic negotiation, an art that adjudicates disputes every day in my law practice, or critical thinking, or the ability to argue, cross-cultural communication, and many others. Jan Amos Komenský, our teacher of nation, once said, we all are on the same stage, and whatever perspective you have and whatever happens in some place here concerns everyone. Those words resonate to these days. Your decision here, your debates, your compromises will possibly affect us all. We are, I would say here, more connected than ever. At Newton University, we do believe that the education is not just about knowledge or the acquisition of knowledge, but more importantly about the development of character and critical thinking. We see these values reflected in what you do here. Remember, today's simulation can be your reality tomorrow. Many of you may one day actually represent your countries internationally. And I will end my speech with the words of Winston Churchill. He said once, "The pessimist sees difficulty in every opportunity. The optimist sees opportunity in every difficulty." You are proof that optimism combined with intelligence can change the world. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mrs. Meissnerova, for your speech. Now the House will welcome Zach Barnes, Head of Humanities and IB History teacher at the Novi PORGymnasium and the teacher supervisor of PORGMUN. Mr. Barnes, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. A lot of people here. Welcome, everyone. I think you've been welcomed a few times. Now, before I say anything, I do need to preface my speech with a small disclaimer that all of you are very aware that I do not subscribe to any level of animal cruelty, and no matter what I say here, I hope that we can get past this. So, this is a special day. It's a special day because this is our 13th time that PORGMUN has commenced. Lucky. It's a special day because it's a day that the Secretariat here have been working towards not only for the past 11 months, but some of them literally years. It's a special day because while the world grows in chaos, you are the future. And it's a special day. I'm sure everyone knows why, probably not even worth mentioning this one, but we all know that it is the last double-digit day of the year. We're living on day number 99 in 2026. And tomorrow, long live the triple digits. But in all honesty, I'm sorry, I don't really know what to talk about today, which makes it a bit embarrassing, as this is the first time that the YouTube has come out to record our opening ceremony. So there's a lot of pressure, and it's all just becoming quite overwhelming. But we'll get through it together. Well, I'll get through it, and you'll probably just sit there and suffer through it, because let's face it, you have to. I actually asked ChatGPT to help me a bit with my speech, but I immediately lost interest, as it classified my previous speeches as, quote, playful, self-aware, slightly absurd but meaningful. Slightly absurd but meaningful? I don't know what they meant by that. So, funny story. I was driving in the countryside a few days ago, and I spotted a deer, and I thought, that's a sign. Because deer represent success and strength. And do you know how I know that? Because I felt this overwhelming feeling of success and strength shortly after I saw it, almost as if I was absorbing it directly from the deer as it smashed into the side of my car. It's okay. It's okay. I'm sure it's fine. I mean, I'm fine. I absorbed so much success and strength for this conference. And so that's really what's keeping me going right now. Starting to feel a little bit better, so let's just try something out here. Now, upon reflection, what I enjoy most about the 11 months of prepping for PORGMUN, after 13 years of doing this, year after year, the best things are the skills developing, mentoring, crisis management, aiding, growing, advising. But then I think of the complaining, of the stressing, threatening, reliving trauma after trauma, nightmare after nightmare, breaking hearts and sometimes bones. Now, I didn't say human bones. And while that may imply that I approve of animal cruelty, remember my disclaimer, wait, yeah? Because think about it. Does that sound logical? Does it sound logical that I'd be up here speaking to you about animals that I have harmed? And this is why clarity matters as well. I never told you that these bones came from living animals. Maybe we had a team building where we tried to break as many chicken bones in 30 seconds as possible. We didn't. But that would make this whole story make more sense. But logic and clarity are not the focus of my chat today. Oh, sorry. They are the focus of my chat today. Love logic. Then question for clarity. Now, this is where I'm going to ask for a little help from the audience. This side of the room, when I point to you, you'll say, love logic. In this side of the room, please, you will say, question for clarity. All right? So, let's try that. Love, logic. 3 syllables. Yeah? Let's try it again. Good. Someone's adding 4 syllables there. And beautiful. Beautiful. Now, how does logic and clarity affect how we interpret the world around us? I've got a few scenarios for you today. Let's start with an easy one. You see a man walking around the square with a baby that looks nothing like him. Do you start screaming kidnapper? Maybe the baby girl looks more similar to the mother. Hopefully. That's possible, right? Then, ask a gentle question and you realize that the baby speaks French, but the man speaks Chinese. And he says there might be some miscommunication. Clearly. Maybe that was a bad example. Let's try another one. This one's much better. If someone told you they saw an alien, now, aliens, nothing's ever been confirmed, and why would such superior creatures choose your buddy out of the billions of people in the world to show themselves to? Trust logic. But then questions drive conversation and communication. And if you don't question your buddy, you might never find out that he actually was kidnapped and taken into a spaceship. And he has photos. Do you trust the photos? No. But then, are the photos AI generated? Probably, but if it was 20 years ago, you might have less to question. Communication is the friend to us all. But in all seriousness, communication and clarification destroys miscommunication, which is the central theme to all major arguments and breakups. Let's take this last hypothetical example. Hypothetically, let's say that you have a family that is constantly telling you that you have gray hair in your beard. But of course, we must. And no, it's definitely not true, since hypothetically, you are clearly not a day older than 25, and therefore impossible. And you know that blonde hair looks similar to white hair in the sun, so what do we do further? Do we take it as an insult, or do we rather... And in doing so, we find that the family might equate gray hair with wisdom, and they cannot imagine such a wise and intelligent person to be so young. So there's a happy ending with that extremely hypothetical story as well. We love fairy tales with happy endings. And to some extent, some might say that I have presented 3 beautiful fairy tales to you today with happy endings. That wasn't so bad. Therefore, in closing, as we go about this week, focus on trusting your instinct. We should learn to, but don't fear to. Thank you, and let's get excited for the next few days.
Thank you, Mr. Barnes, for your wonderful speech. The General Assembly will now listen to Victoria Lukander, a Secretariat member who will give us remarks regarding the organization of this year's PORGMUN conference. Victoria, you now have the floor.
Dear delegates, honorable chairs, distinguished supervisors, esteemed guests, and my fellow Secretariat members. Allow me to walk you through our journey of organizing PORGMUN 2026. As per usual, initially we had no idea how the Secretariat would look like. However, we were informed about that in June, after weeks and months of anticipation. In 2024, there were 3 Secretariat members. In 2025, 8. So I guess for our year, 2026, the number was averaged to 5. You can say that we have been preparing the conference for the past year. Nevertheless, most of us have been a part of the conference in some way for the last 5 years. For that reason only, I find it remarkable that we are finally able to stand here before you and enjoy the conference into which we put our energy, effort, and souls. I remember our first official meeting that took place during the summer holidays. I was sailing on a boat in Sicily. Ella and Sophie were sunbathing in Croatia. Toby was on an adventure in Scotland, and Andy was working tirelessly at his internship in Brussels. Regardless, we were able to connect and discuss the topics and the committees for this year's conference. Back then, the whole conference seemed so abstract and far away. Only this week we realized how fast the 10 months went by. In September, we started having our weekly meetings during which we discussed what we wanted to improve and change in contrast to the past years, as well as what worked and what we wanted to keep. Our initial goal was to improve the conference as much as we could, all while preserving the overall atmosphere of PORGMUN. But we did not bear the responsibility of organizing this conference alone. The work of the entire PORGMUN organization team is the sole reason why we're able to be here today. Together, more than 170 students dedicated their free time to this conference. Therefore, a special thanks goes to all of our PORGMUN teams, sponsors teams, which obtained all the sponsors necessary to make this conference happen. Registration team, which allocated all of your spots and prepared your registration bags. Speakers team, which found and contacted all of the amazing speakers each committee will hear during the following days. Video team, which prepared the opening video you saw earlier. Catering and venues team, which arranged access to all of our beautiful venues and assured proper catering. Social media team, which makes sure you're constantly updated. Press team, which will be conducting daily reporters about the course of the conference. Photography team, which will make sure that all of your PORGMUN memories will be captured. Admin and approval panel team, which will ensure everything in your committees runs smoothly. IT team, which handles our website and any technical issues that might arise. Design team, which designed the merch and also the tote bags you got at registration. Lead student officers, who made sure all of our student officers were sufficiently prepared for the conference. Last but not least, our supervisors, who provided us with support throughout the whole year. Now, we would like to thank all of our sponsors. Without your help and input, this conference would not be possible. Our greatest gratitude goes to our general sponsor, Portos. We are also very grateful to Redside, EP Holding, ASB Group, Renka, Adtax, Neris, Nepro, Iseco, With Kids, Vibel Capital for contributing. Among our parent sponsors, we would like to thank Marek Spurný, Jana Karakolevová, Hanna Cabrnochová, Josef Sedláček, Zdeněk Ďarmek, Ondřej Berka, Filip Král, Pavla Svobodová, Petr Šustek, Lívia Gutová, and Alena Krugová. A special thank you also goes to Fruitissimo, Cans, and Magnesia, who contributed with their products. Please let us express our gratitude through an applause for all of our sponsors. Now that I've given you some insight into how PORGMUN 2026 was organized, I'd like to wish you all the best in your debates, and most importantly, to have fun and enjoy the conference. Thank you very much, and I yield the floor back to the President of the General Assembly.
Thank you, Victoria, for your speech. Now, the General Assembly, we will hear our conference partner, UNICEF. Mrs. Pavla Gomba, the floor is yours.
Honorable chairs, secretariat, distinguished delegates, dear friends, it's truly an honor to stand here and as we gather to engage in collaboration on the world's most pressing issues. If my speech feels fresh, spontaneous, and full of energy, it's because I learned that I would be presenting here today only this morning. And this is what it means when you work for a humanitarian agency dealing with emergencies. This is actually the letter E in a UNICEF acronym. And you step in, you adapt quickly, and do your best with time and information you have. Had I known, I would have worn different shoes, though. In many ways, this is also exactly, let me try the clicker. Yes, it works. Excellent. Good job. In many ways, this is exactly what Model United Nations is about: thinking on your feet, adapting to new realities, and raising to the occasion, even when you are given very little notice. And we meet in a time of turbulence for the world, for people, and for human rights as well. The mission and even the existence of the United Nations are being scrutinized. And yet, as we see, perhaps humanity has rarely needed more to come together to align around humanity and peace. We at UNICEF deal with different types of emergencies, and what worries me most, all right, so let's go back. What worries me most is that right now, every fifth child on the earth lives in the area of war or armed conflict. And I use this slide quite often. And it's really painful that every year I have to increase the figure. I had to increase the figure again this year. We still have Sudan, we have Myanmar, we have Democratic Republic of Congo, and we have Middle East, and we have so many other countries. We have Ukraine. So there are so many other countries. We see that the previous conflicts and the previous wars go on, and while we are adding more in the recent weeks and months. And what we see also on the ground very often is that war conflicts are interconnected with many other challenges for children, for families, for communities, like climate change, and they feed each other. So for agencies like UNICEF, it means that we have to be on the ground, we have to help, we have to provide, we have to deal with the consequences. And sometimes we are also under threat. We also put our own people, our own staff into risk to be there to deliver and to stay. You may have seen many countries where humanitarian agencies had to pool and had to leave, but this is not an option for UNICEF. We are there to stay. When Taliban took over in Afghanistan, many other agencies left, but we are there and we are on the ground every day to deliver on what is our mission. And we must also recognize that the impact of armed conflicts extends far beyond immediate zones of war. It's not only those living through violence that are affected. Today's conflicts shape the lives of people everywhere, including you, me, all of us, through uncertainty, fear, and constant exposure to distressing news and distressing events. This has also a profound impact on mental health, especially among young people. So we see growth of anxiety, helplessness, and emotional fatigue. This is a shared experience across borders. And for agencies like UNICEF, this reality means extreme strain, extreme workload. When wars, when conflicts combine with climate change and climate disasters, natural disasters, aid becomes much harder to deliver. How can we get into the most isolated places, the most isolated communities where the aid is needed most? And also infrastructure collapses, so everything is much more difficult for us. And behind this big picture, there are also personal stories. And I would like to share and remember a colleague of us who only 3 weeks ago, let me try again. So only 3 weeks ago, we lost Karine Busset, who was a UNICEF staff working in Goma, in a border town of Rwanda and DRC Congo. She lost her life in a drone attack, and I believe that her story is a reminder that humanitarian work is not abstract, it's real, it's urgent, and it often comes at a very high cost. Today, UNICEF operates in some of the world's most fragile environments, ensuring that children affected by conflict and climate disasters receive life-saving support, meaning clean water, hygiene, adequate nutrition, protection, medicine, and also the chance to continue their education, because for us, this is just as important as those life-saving supplies. It would be very easy to be overwhelmed by the scale of the problems and challenges facing children and communities today. But still, at least at UNICEF, we are not losing hope, and I believe that neither should you. The world has faced challenges of this magnitude before, and we have overcome them. UNICEF itself was founded after the aftermath of a big global crisis, the Second World War. And in response to this devastation, the world reimagined what was possible. We built international institutions, we strengthened health and welfare systems, we eradicated smallpox. With polio, we are very, very near to eradication as well. And we have brought more children into schools than ever before in human history. And that brings me to the power of the individual. Let me ask you, how many of you consider yourself leader? Please raise your hand. Thank you. We have one leader over there. Who else is a leader? Thank you. I would expect all the secretariat. I would expect many, many more leaders. So thank you for your courage. We often imagine leaders as dynamic, outspoken, and constantly in the spotlight. people who effortlessly command attention. But leadership doesn't always look like that. And I would like to share a personal discovery. Earlier this year in February, I traveled to attend the UNICEF Executive Board in New York. And I was asked at the same time to prepare an article about management and intuition, a very interesting theme. And on the plane, as I browsed through different resources, I came across someone I would not have expected to find in that context. And I'm sure you know him. It's the second Secretary General of the United Nations, Dag Hammarskjöld. He was known as a very private, reserved individual, maybe even a little weird person. He was a lover of nature, he loved mountain biking, and he really valued silence and introspection. And yet he became one of the most influential Secretaries General in the history of the United Nations. He helped shape modern peacekeeping and push the boundaries of what international diplomacy could achieve. Hammarskjöld believed in listening to what he called the voice within, trusting intuition alongside reason to navigate complexity and act with purpose. He once said, the UN was not created to take mankind to heaven, but to save humanity from hell. All right. And his example reminds us that leadership is not about fitting into a single mold. It's about authenticity, courage, and a deep sense of responsibility. And I truly believe in the power of the individual. I have seen it on the ground so many times. Every resolution begins as an idea in someone's mind. Every negotiation is shaped by the people in the room. And often, it is the small and subtle choices, what you say, what you share, whom you follow, what you comment, what you buy or what you don't buy, simply the things we choose that create real impact. So please remember, MUN is not just about winning arguments. It's about understanding different perspectives, building consensus, and learning how to communicate effectively in a diverse international environment. So I encourage all of you, make friends here, speak boldly, listen carefully, make friends again, and do not hesitate to take initiative, even if, like me, you sometimes find yourself figuring things as you go. And as you meet tomorrow, if you decide to buy UNICEF hoodies, please remember that with every hoodie, you will provide 11 doses of this nutrition for children who may suffer right now from malnutrition or hunger. With that, I wish you all a productive, engaging, and memorable conference. Thank you very much.
We thank again the President of UNICEF Czech Republic, Pavla Gomba. Now the audience will be given time to ask questions. If you have any, please raise your hand and you will be approached by one of our admin helpers.
We should have at least as many questions as leaders in the room. Thank you. I see a question here.
Hello, thank you for your speech. Sadly, I came late, so if the question was answered, I'm really sorry. However, do you believe that there is a chance for UN to further reform and to serve the role of the world police, that I don't really want to say that, but to really have the mandate that it is supposed to have, considering Security Council, P5 countries, stuff like that? Do you think there is a chance for UN to actually reform?
Well, I think that no other institution faces as much criticism as the UN, and this is not a new thing. And I think that as long as I remember, there have always been reforms of the UN. It may sound a bit skeptical, and I believe that the reform that UN is facing right now can be the one to really make things and change things for better. I can tell you how many things I don't like about the UN, but I still believe that there is no other organization like that. And I also think that the challenge is that people not like you, but many other people don't really know what UN really is. And they have an idea of this like powerful judge and police that can solve everything and every problem in the world. But I think that people should rather have an idea of a global parliament where different countries, different parliamentarians meet and debate. We would need that judge, we would need that police, that cop, but I don't think that this is where we are right now. And I think that this is another topic for discussion, where the UN might evolve on, or who else should take this role. But I think it's very much needed in a global world. And if you ask me, I think, yes, there's always a chance if there is a will. And I think that the will is really crucial here. We have, I mean, if you look at all the stories of mankind, you see that everything is possible. I really believe that we have made impossible progress, and it is possible if people are willing, if people commit themselves. And the will is so important. I would like to believe there is will.
Thank you so much.
Do we have another question? No questions. I know you look forward to the next speaker, so I will hand over to whoever it is. Thank you again, and good luck.
Thank you, Ms. Gomba, for your inspiring speech. And we will now entertain the speech from our keynote speaker, Jakub Landowski. Mr. Jakub Landowski is a Czech diplomat, lawyer, and academic specializing in international relations and security policy. He served as the Czech Republic's ambassador to NATO from 2019 to 2024 and previously worked as Deputy Minister of Defense. He is also a lecturer at Charles University and is known for his involvement in Czech and international political discussions. There will be time dedicated to questions after Mr. Landowski's speech, so please now welcome our keynote speaker.
Very good afternoon to you all, delegates. I'm also, one of my biggest feat is that I was invited twice to PORGMUN, which I consider a great feat and a great accomplishment, because you usually don't invite twice people who are not amusing or inspirational in some way. And you are a room full of inspiring young future diplomats, and that's a profession, that's a very technical skill. And I'm a middle-aged, uninspiring, slightly seasoned, experienced professional. I consider myself to be first and foremost a state servant. That was my time at the ministry. Part of this service was diplomacy, and when I came back from my NATO posting, something was missing in my life. I was working in an NGO sector, and I said, what should I do now? My link to my state is very weak. So I joined the army, and I'm now with the Special Forces, and I'm in the rank of captain. which is someone who I would totally miss at the ministry. We were mostly talking to the colonels and generals. And I'm very happy, because I think that the world we have expected is nothing like the world we see right now in front of our eyes. And I will speak to you from a generational perspective, because I guess that you are mostly a Gen Z people. Maybe some of you are Generation Alpha, like my daughter, whom I brought here. And your situation you inherited is quite dire. I was really inspired by the previous speaker, one of your favorite professors, who used the animal parables. Yeah, I'll use them as well. I'm not sure that I can put the disclaimer as he did, because apart from really loving the animals, I'm also a hunter. So there is a certain duality in my life that I care so much, but I also know how predation works, and I can kill cleanly. And that's something that people forget that even exists in the world as we see today. And some of you might be very surprised, because you were nurtured to a world without borders, to a world without limits, with endless possibilities, and basically in a form of a planetary community full of people who are more alike than different. And what we see now, especially right now, is a world full of nations, wars, tariffs, impediments on movement, and a world that's quite dangerous. And I think, for me, as a thinker, the most valued thing is two things. It's like integrity and honesty in my thinking, and then courage to say things that are going against the current. And I was saying that the world is heading into this direction for quite some time. Because being a realist in academic sense, I have only one proving stone for my theories, and that's history. Because if you are a realist, you must know the history of the world, you must know the contemporary set of international relations, and then try to match your guesses and your theories with the future developments. So I'm not surprised, but I'm sometimes even horrified. Because, and we are at the model of the UN, there are certain issues that transcend the state, that transcend the nationals. There are planetary issues like protection of our environment, for example, how to set the laws for space and basically how to utilize space. There is the whole continent that's without borders, and that's due to the real remnants of the international law, the Antarctica. Antarctica, the most southern continent. And I'd like to guide you in my initial statement to what I see as of now, and also what I see like 10 years forward. Because there is a great deal of hope in my current thinking, and I'll just explain to you why. But before I do that, let me use the animal parable. It's called a fable in English, right? Fable, to describe the current set of relations. Because whilst we don't see the global village, was it the statement? Global village, end of history, Fukuyama's world, we pretty much see who has an ability to act, to do some things, and who is only watching what's unfolding in front of his eyes. So first, let's talk about the animal kingdom in the fable term. So we still have a king. It's not the king we used to know when this animal kingdom was born, which is basically from the ashes of the most tragic and cruel conflict of the 20th century, which is called the Second World War. In my thinking, it's a continuation of the first, but nevertheless, from the ashes of the war, from the nuclear ashes of first ever usage of nuclear bomb in the world, born a new order. And in this order, the king, it's like an eagle, was young, he was constituting half of the world trade, and he was giving guarantees to animals that if they live in democracy and peace and freedom, they will be protected. And then on other side of the kingdom, on the biggest island, a dragon was growing. It was a red dragon, and it was growing for a quite long time, a couple of thousand years. And this dragon and its ambition started to change the world. The dragon had a neighbor, and the neighbor was a bear. He was living in the biggest land ever, and he was very ill. But the bear, when ill, can be very dangerous. So don't forget that before it will go to the eternal hunting grounds, it can harm you. And then on the westernmost part of the world island, in our part of the world island, we didn't live like one animal that can be named. We lived like, and I was thinking hard how to put in names what we are living through in this part of the world called Central Europe and Europe. And I would see us as a pack of dogs. We used to be very much quarrelsome pack of dogs, and we Europeans brought the world to the verge of total destruction and annihilation in the previous world order, which ended by the World War II. It was us who did it. It was the others who saved us from it. And then by imposing from external sources their will on us, they made us a pack of dogs who forgot that the dogs are not vegetarians, that dogs can be carnivorous and predatory. And we have forgot these instincts, and we are still sometimes very quarrelsome. But just imagine if you are living with the dragon, the bear, and the bald eagle, how can you hold your ground if you are disunited and if you are weak? And I'm not afraid to say the word weak, because that's where we are as Europeans. It looks very dire, but there is a big glimpse of hope. I thought, maybe like you when I was your age, that the future will be ever brighter and there will be no clouds on the horizon, like in the 1990s. And then the opponent of Mr. Fukuyama, Mr. Huntington, with his students, and I like teaching very much because it's honest and authentic. And what I really value about the Gen Z, it's their quest for authenticity. They can distinguish between authentic and disauthentic or cringe very fast. They are genuinely nice people, or you are genuinely nice people. You don't want to harm anybody. You are a strong community, also bonded by cyberlinks through your nativity in the cyberland. And you must be quite surprised, but I have a glimpse of hope for you, because the world is not a one-way street which will end in bliss. It's a cyclical device, and this cycle is based on something as simple as the length of a human life. I think it's much better to look at the history of the international relations in large cycles, where a certain system is born, grows, then matures, and then goes gray and into decay and accumulates so many problems that it needs a very big crisis to come out of these problems. And our current crisis, and you see it in Ukraine, you see it in Iran, or in the war between Israel, Iran, and the US. You see it on many places. You saw it in Sudan, for example, or earlier in the Balkans. You see that war and conflict are really back as instruments to change the world, despite the efforts of noble organizations like the UN. And if there was no UN, we had to invent it, because you always have to have a global organization that ensures that everyone is a member. But so far, UN is like a big compost heap where you can store problems to decay. UN will not solve any problem by its own volition, because UN itself is a victim of this power game. But the glimpse of hope is that when the power game between the big powers ends, there will be a new golden age, there will be a new institution building, there will be a new disarmament, and a great deal of stability. A stable era is to unfold, and the only thing is to brave out and survive this period of instability. And for this, what do we need? We need to be resilient. We need to be realistically thinking about our security, And we need to be hopeful, because it's very hard to keep these things in place if you don't have any hope. And there is one thing that I found fascinating about Gen Z. This whole system of generations comes from America, of course. That's why the baby boomers are the generation that was born out of the happiness of ending the big war, and there was the highest peak in natality in America in 1957, I guess. And your generation, the Gen Z, took quite a long time to gather, because currently in the West, natality, or rate of births, is very, very low. We are currently having the lowest natality in 250 years in Czechia. It's quite something. And I think you are not to blame, because who would bring a child into the world that's so unstable, that's full of danger, that's full of unsolved problems? I think that you are waiting for the stability era that's ahead. But you shouldn't wait too long, because human creatures are creatures of biological laws, and if they don't listen to them fully, they will lose the opportunity, the window of opportunity to procreate. And for me, to have 3 kids is the biggest happiness in my life, and also a comfort of a sort, because once my parents decided that they will not leave this world without children, I was able to get a chance to do the same. So I see it as part of my obligations to my own nation, to my country, to have kids. And last thing, I spoke about the profession itself. And I think for you, apart from this, slightly, how did you say it, absurd and dry humor expose, which should propel you into thinking, into discussion, don't forget that what you will teach here is a practical knowledge. And first of all, I'd like you to recognize these terrific organizers, because to get 400 people to Prague to organize this session in this beautiful place, which by chance and by the turning wheel of history was the biggest hub of the revolutionary year 1918. This is the place where everything started. This is the place where Czechoslovakia was born, and every communication line was from this very place. So it's a very sacred place to our nation. Is quite a feat. And the profession is not only about organization. Now I got like 10 questions today about who's going to go to the NATO summit, the president or the government. So I replied, there are certain rules, but also it's up to each country, because we are sovereign nations. And in this, and it's slightly harder to get a grasp on, but I believe that you will. In a world of many different nations, of different sizes, different cultures, different persuasions, the freedom thrives. In a world that's so united that there is only one authority, that there is only one world empire, freedom suffers. So we must embrace this diversity in statehood, embrace diversity in institutions, regardless of the fact that sometimes it's very cumbersome and long to get the wheels turning, because this is where the freedom resides. And last to the practical, I would say what makes a good diplomat is to sense the room. If you enter into the room, you must understand who's your audience, who you are talking to, and try to attune your mind to the other. It's a very unselfish profession. And that's why I think when I was serving in NATO and I'm explaining someone what it is, this North Atlantic Alliance, I said, it's only 14 articles on paper. It's a very thin treaty. It's a treaty born out of trust. And we are sitting around the table together, trying to fulfill our mission with nothing but trust and goodwill among ourselves, to see your allies' needs as your own, to see someone other's problems as something you can help with. And also you feel the responsibility, because the dangers are manifold today, and the bear and the dragon, they will try to do what's very natural, to get the best possible standing for themselves in this new world order. And last thing, you see in the structure of the UN the last echoes of the World War II. That's why France, a middle-sized European power, still holds the seat in the UN. That's why India, nuclear power with most numerous population, India is now the biggest, most populated country in the world, holds nothing. So you yourself, as aficionados of the UN, must see that the old world order needs to be torn down because its structure doesn't represent the world. The only thing we can pray for that it is torn down with the with the least possible amount of violence, detrimental of our natural resources, destruction of our economies, that we will able, through institutions, to do it as peacefully as possible. But you all see that it needs to happen. So the old order is dead. Long live the new order. And now I will really please you to step into the debate and open the questions, any questions that would you like to know from myself or any comments you would like to say to the rest of your crowd about the world you see and about the future, which is just around the corner. How would you construct it? What architecture would you choose to make it good for you? But not only for you, but for the generations to come. Thank you very much. That's so nice, thank you.
As Mr. Landowski said, we will now entertain a few questions. Delegates or chairs who wish to ask their questions, please raise your hands and an admin will bring you a microphone.
I see a hand, even though the light is like in the interrogation room.
So thank you for your speech, and I apologize if I misrepresent your words. However, it appears to me that you have mentioned that the current era of the world will change and the powers will be different and there will be some new organization building and other than that. However, it appears to me that the simplest way for that to happen and the way that it happened last time is war, which isn't exactly positive. So how do you see this change happening without war if any other way exists?
Oh, thank you. I think it needs explanation because I said, 100-year cycle. So let's not only look at this one, which will, turn its 100 years in 2045. It's quite far ahead. Let's look at the previous one, and that's the Napoleonic Wars in Europe. It's 1815, and it created an era of the longest, undisrupted peace in European history because the powers of the time were able to say, this is enough. I don't have ability to have more. So how to overcome it? I think first thing is, and that's a good news from the military strategic standpoint, it's very hard to control a territory which doesn't want to be subjugated. One thing I remember from my years in NATO is what we have promised in Afghanistan and how poorly we have delivered on the promise. Militarily, it was superb. Soldiers loved the war in Afghanistan because of the technological superiority. But I must say, I really admired the toughness and determination of the Afghani fighters. I don't like their ideology, not at all. I think it's disgrace, and it's a disgrace for the UN as well, that this regime stones women, kill gay people, and we promised them that they could go to universities, live in a Western-like country. No way. Taliban is ruling hard there. But it also sends a signal that if you want to conquer and hold, it's hard against the will of the people. And the same signal goes from Ukraine. I'll tell you something I'm not really telling everybody, but I hope you will understand. The very beginning of the war in Ukraine, we were, brought from our beds, 4 o'clock in the morning, gathered in the NATO, in the neck room. Many Western countries deemed it impossible for Ukraine to survive longer than 3 weeks. They said, it will be gone in 3 weeks. Don't bother yourself with helping. More you help, the more it will hurt the Ukrainians to fight. Let them basically lose. We said no. Me, Poland, US, UK, these countries were really brave and they were helping even before. Because it's not a lost fight if you don't lose your territorial ability to hold your ground, which is the ground of your ancestors, which is the ground where your children go to the kindergarten. And that's a good news, because Russia wasn't able, after 4 years, to conquer its smaller non-nuclear neighbor. In the last war, Russia went in 4 years from close to Moscow into Berlin. So it's a very long distance. So that's another good news, that if you hold your ground, if you are a strong society, you can survive, conventionally of course, in this. Second, I think the nuclear weapons, and I said that I love animal and I'm a hunter. I hate nuclear weapons, but I also must say that these weapons created an era of unprecedented peace. It's the duality of man. These weapons, so horrible, are able to deter big war, to deter, full-on conflict between the superpowers, victor takes all. So they are still a stabilizing factor in the world we live in. And when I was talking at my daughter's school, the first and foremost question was how to build a nuclear weapon. The children at the age of 10 years, they really understood what matters in this world. If you look at the war in Iran, it's also about a nuclear bomb, even though we don't like to see it. It is about the nuclear capability. So the nuclear weapons will be the defining factor of the world security in the 21st century, as they were the defining factor in the second half of the 20th century. And I pray they will be regulated by disarmament treaties, but they will not disappear. They will still be there, and their godly power will hopefully deter us meager humans from using them. So that's another peculiar hope I have, that they will keep the structure without the, all-out world war. And the last is ideology. I think for fooling or leading the population into a big war, you need a strong, ideologically inclined population that believes in higher constructs. This era is not favorable for communism, or not favorable maybe for, certain versions of Islam that really seeks the end of days. And I think people are not really into like revolutionary ideologies. That's another hope I have, that we can survive this. But we need to also acknowledge that our cravings, like prosperity and security, they were borrowed for. We have lended money to let you to study at the universities. It's a big sequence of borrowing from the future. And without growing, you are unable to repay the debts. So finding the balance for our societies, for the demographic decline, economic debt, and security will be the big task for the leaders today. But they also need to be accompanied by generations that will understand their duties in the new order. They will understand, and they will be able to define what they want. That's why I'd like to ask you, what world do you like to live in? What are the main constituents of this world? How much you value freedom against prosperity? How much you value security against whatnot, ideological revolution? Tell me about the world you'd like to live in.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the amazing speech. And I wanted to ask, it has been proven that in young people there has been a great polarization in politics and worldview. Which one do you think that will be the most prominent or prevalent in the next couple of years, when our generation actually gets to rule the world, let's just say?
Oh yeah, that's a really good one, because I hope I get something right in understanding your traits of the generation. And I said it, you are nice people. For example, not to harm others' feeling is an important trait or feature of the Generation Z. But also, you are living constantly in a digital structure that's very flat. And that always allows you, with whatever idea you have, to gather crowds. And the only thing that needs to be changed is that these crowds are built against other crowds to fight with. I really love when the people with peculiar gardening hobbies are gathering on the internet. But of course, if you have really toxic ideas and you are always able to gather people with the similar ideas across the world, it can create a fight that's unprecedented, because in the past it was impossible to gather such an extreme polarized opinions into one digital group. So you will have to sort this, but who else than you? Because, for example, when I spoke to your colleagues here, they told me that you have a special ability to distinguish between, for example, generated content, AI-generated videos, and real videos. It's something we don't have, because for us, picture is more than written word. You are living in an era of inflation of both. You have generated music, generated videos, generated texts. Everything is cheap, super cheap. For us, when we saw the assassination of JFK, it was a 16mm film from Mr. Zapruder, and we saw the part of the brain flying in the car. It defined the whole generation in America. When we saw the 9/11 attacks on the Twin Towers in New York, it defined the whole generation, and we believe in pictures. But it's dangerous, because today you can really easily manipulate with fake pictures, and you have this ability to distinguish. You have this nose for authenticity, so I trust in you. But ask yourself one thing. For me, I'm Gen X. I'm distrustful of authorities, for example. My parents were against the communism, my father was incarcerated. Like a revolt is part of me. So I always question, do you have this? Because I haven't seen it too much in the polls, in my student classes. Do you have this total distrust in rules, authorities? Who are your heroes? Someone who is fighting for environment through influencing, or someone who disrupts the society in whatever form? I incline to think that you are more against those who are disrupting the social fabric. But tell me, maybe I'm wrong. Who are your heroes now?
Thank you, delegates. Due to time constraints, we'll unfortunately not be able to entertain any more questions. But we thank you, Mr. Landowski. We would truly like to thank you for your time as for your presence. You have truly elevated this conference. We at PORGMUN wish you the best of luck in your future. And once again, thank you for your mesmerizing and fruitful speech.
Thank you very much. Thank you, guys.
We will now entertain one last speech of this opening ceremony. It will be coming from a representative of our general partner, Portos, Mr. Petr Gajdušek.
So, dear distinguished delegates, the students of PORG, ladies and gentlemen, for me it is a pleasure to be here, and I'm here representing Portos law firm, and it's also an honor for Portos to support an initiative that encourages young people to step outside their comfort zone and into the shoes of global leaders, even for a couple of days. At our law firm, we live and we breathe the law. We are also keenly aware that the world is built on more than just local laws, local statutes. It is built also on the agreements that we make with our neighbors. And supporting PORGMUN is our way of investing into the generation of the next bridge builders. I spent a good portion of my life in the world of academia, be it Charles University or later at Cambridge and Oxford, and I'll tell a secret that I learned in those held halls. The primary difference between a world-renowned expert and a nervous student, such as many of you, I suppose, is that the expert has learned to say, that is a very complex question, whenever they have absolutely no idea what the answer is. And so if you find yourself stuck in the discussions today, just remember, you're not lost. You're simply navigating a complex global landscape. And now, on a more serious note, I would like to say a few words on why international organizations and why international law matters now. Many people today look at the news, the conflicts, the shifting borders, the crisis, and they ask, does international law still exist? Does the UN actually matter? And having served as the State Secretary at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and as ambassador to the United Nations in Geneva, representing my country, I have seen machinery from the inside. And my answer is this. International law is the only thing that is currently standing between the world of rules and between the world of might makes right. International law, though, is not a magic shield that stops magically every ballot, but it is the framework that allows world to hold the powerful, those who are in power, accountable. It is the language that helps us to define the war crimes, to protect the refugees, and to respond to other global challenges. Without the UN, the structures of international law, and without the structures of international law, we don't have a global community. We just have a global shouting match. As you head into your session, and as my predecessor here said, remember that the diplomacy is a very specific craft. A great diplomat is someone who can find a third way when everyone else see only two dead-end ways. It's about the patience to keep talking, to keep listening, when it would be, in fact, much, much easier to walk away. I've had a varied career, from the lecture halls of England and to the diplomatic circles of Geneva and now to practice the law. But looking at you today, I'm reminded that the most exciting part of every journey is the beginning. And even a road 1,000 miles long begins with a very single step, with the very first one. Currently, you are at the chapter 1 of your stories. You have the luxury of being curious, making mistakes, and testing out the ideas. Don't feel, maybe on a more personal note, don't feel pressured to have your career path figured out by the end of this weekend. My own was never a straight line. Instead, focus on the now. Focus on how to articulate an argument, how to listen, how to discuss. And to conclude, I think the world is waiting for a generation that values the truth and respects the law and understands that we are all part of one global but fragile system. On behalf of Portos, I wish you a good and fruitful conference filled with sharp debates and very interesting discussions. And I think the floor is yours now, and make us proud. Thank you very much.
Thank you once again to our general partner, Portos, for your support, and Mr. Gajdušek for his speech. With that being said, let's come to the most important part of the opening ceremony. We would like to declare the PORGMUN 2026 conference as officially started.
We thank you for your participation in PORGMUN, and we are looking forward to the fruitful debates during the course of this conference. The opening ceremony is now adjourned. Delegates are advised to help themselves to refreshments. After that, the icebreakers will begin. Your chairs will pick you up. Thank you.
Somebody